In the aftermath of Romain Grosjean's enormous crash at the Bahrain Grand Prix, the mood quickly turned from one of relief that the Frenchman had walked away with relatively minor injuries to one of taking stock of what had happened and what happens next.
Make no mistake about it, this was a highly unusual crash, and one which in almost any other era of Formula One might have resulted in a very different outcome.
What was certainly true is that the FIA's relentless push for better safety measures played an unequivocally critical role in keeping Grosjean from harm, as did the procedures put in place that were executed by those on the scene. After contact with Danik Fiat, Grosjean was pitched towards the Armco barrier before impacting at 221 km/h. The impact was measured at 53 G, and the car became enveloped in flames.
There were numerous safety features which helped to protect the Frenchman, both on the car itself and in what he was wearing.
In terms of the car, Grosjean himself was quick to highlight the importance of the halo, the safety device encircling the cockpit and protecting the driver made mandatory in 2018. Made of titanium encased in carbon fiber, the halo is capable of withstanding 12 tons of weight. Without it, Grosjean's helmet would have been exposed. The reinforced carbon fiber survival shell Grosjean was strapped into, meanwhile, stood up well to the force of the accident, doing its job to remain intact as it separated from the rest of the car. Formula One cars must pass strict crash tests before they are allowed to race. Even after such a massive crash and fire, the integrity of the Haas survival cell was there to see. It's worth reiterating that despite the massive forces involved, Grosjean suffered no fractures at all, which is quite remarkable. Indeed, he was well enough to be back in the paddock on Thursday to meet and thank his rescuers.
Grosjean was also protected by his high-tech safety clothing.
The FIA introduced a new race suit this year, which is heavier than previous versions and is 17% better at dealing with fire than previous suits. Grosjean escaped with minor burns on his hands, despite it taking him more than 20 seconds to escape the flames. Dr. Ian Roberts, the FIA doctor who helped pull Grosjean from the flames, said that the visor on the Frenchman's helmet was opaque when he climbed from his car, the tear-off strips having been charred by the flames. Yet Roberts confirmed the Frenchman had suffered no burns to his face, a testament to helmet safety and the integrity of the reinforced visors now used in Formula One. Meanwhile, the HANDS device, which stands for head and neck support, that drivers have been obliged to wear over their shoulders since 2003, was specifically introduced to help reduce the likelihood of head or neck injuries in head-on collisions. Grosjean was conscious throughout the accident, enabling him to free himself, and HANDS could be said to have played a part in keeping him so. All drivers have to perform an extraction test before they can race in F1, to prove they can climb out of a car within 5 seconds from a seated position in the event of an accident. Critics asked whether the introduction of the halo might prevent drivers from climbing out quickly. But Grosjean proved it was possible even in these most awful of circumstances. Marshals were quickly on the scene with fire extinguishers, with one local marshal running across the circuit after the field had passed in heavy fire gear to help fight the flames. FIA Dr. Ian Roberts, meanwhile, in the medical car driven by Alan van der Merwe, was on the spot in next to no time, thanks to an innovation introduced by Professor Sid Watkins after Ronnie Peterson's fatal crash at Monza in 1978.
Watkins had been troubled by the amount of time it had taken for an ambulance to arrive on the scene. As such, it was determined that for all future Grand Prix, a medical car would follow the field on the opening lap of the race, so that in the event of an accident, help would soon be at hand.
With Grosjean immediately observed and treated at the site of the accident, he was examined and treated by medics at the on-track medical facility before being transferred to hospital for further checks and treatment.
While the accident itself highlighted the great strides made in Formula One safety, it also inevitably led to questions, which will undoubtedly form the basis of the FIA's investigation.
The FIA say they will look at all areas of the crash, including competitor safety devices such as the helmet, hands, safety harness, protective clothing, survival cell, headrest, in-car extinguisher system, and the halo device. They will also analyse chassis integrity and the safety barrier performance for an impact of that energy and trajectory, and assess the role of the track marshals and medical intervention team.
As with any high-profile accident in F1 history,
lessons will be learned by the FIA, measures taken, and the next generation of drivers will be the beneficiaries, just as Grosjean was from this remarkable accident.